In this video, we will take a look at the Marquee tools, and these are basically selection tools. So you'll find them in the second icon down, and they use the shortcut key letter M. Now we have the rectangular Marquee tool, the elliptical Marquee tool, the single row Marquee tool, and the single column Marquee tool. So we'll start with the rectangle Marquee tool, and we call it the Marquee tool because whenever you make a selection, it looks like one of those old marquee signs with the lights dancing across. We also call those marching ants, so you could hear it referred to as either one of those, marching ants or the Marquee tool, but basically it just means that you're creating a selection. And the rectangle Marquee tool means that we can create rectangles or squares. Now to make a square or to lock down the aspect ratio, you just hold the shift button. We can also, if you look here, whenever we create a rectangle, we're creating it from the point that we clicked, and then it goes outward whichever way we move our mouse. We can also do something that creates a center tool. So if I hold down Shift and Alt, it'll actually do it from the center. We clicked in the center, so it doesn't matter where we click. Even if we click off to the right, it radiates out from the center of where we clicked, versus if I click and drag, it does this style. So you can do that by holding the Alt key, so it'll radiate out from wherever you clicked, and if you hold Shift, you can do a perfect square out from wherever you clicked. So that's the rectangle Marquee tool, and at the top we have a couple of different options. So the first option is of course all the tool presets that you can set up for this tool, and then we have how this tool behaves. So the first thing you see is that it creates a new selection. We can also make it add to a selection. So let's create a new selection, and then we can go ahead and select this and add to that selection. So this is like holding down the Shift key with the regular Marquee tool. So here if I hold down Shift, you see a little plus pops up there, and I can add to the selection. You can do the same thing by clicking on this icon. It already has that plus, and it adds to the selection here. The next one is that it's actually going to subtract from the selection. This is like holding the Alt key. So whenever we click and drag through a selection, it will get rid of some of that. If I go back to the original and I hold down the Alt key or the Option key, you'll see the little minus pop up there, and I can remove. So you want to learn those shortcuts, Shift and Alt or Shift and Option, because it's a lot easier than clicking these each time. I like to use the regular selection, hit Shift when I need to add, and Alt or Option when I need to take away. The last one is an intersection. So it's going to be the opposite of whatever is going on. So we see that we have an X here, and if we click and make a box, let's see this bottom left corner. So I'm going to click and drag, and basically all it's going to do is it's going to find the two places where we're intersecting, and that's going to be our selection. So we have all this extra selection over here that's going to go away, and we have this down in the bottom left that's going to go away, and the only thing that's going to be kept is this little square where these two are intersecting. So I let go, you can see that square is what's been kept. I'm going to undo that and do that one more time. There's nothing selected here, and we're not intersecting over here. The only place that we're intersecting is this square right here. And so when I let go, that is what is being kept. So you might need that also. And then feathering is just adding a feather or a kind of a roundness to your selection based on a pixel dimension. So if we go and we pull out that rectangle, you'll see that it feathers or it kind of curves or rounds out those corners for us. So this is a great way to make rounded corners inside of your designs or whenever you're doing any kind of selections. So if we do 10 pixels, you can see it has some nice rounded corners there for us. We can also tell the selection to be anti-aliased and the style. So we can say right here if we want it to be a fixed ratio or a fixed size. So if you know the exact size that you need to select, you can punch that in right here. So let's just say 200 by 200. Now what happens whenever we use the selection tool, I can't change the size. It makes the 200 by 200 for me automatically. So let's just make, say, 400 by 200. Whenever I click, it's going to make that selection size automatically for me. And we can do the same thing with the fixed aspect ratio. So if we wanted a fixed 4:3 aspect ratio, we can click and it's going to keep that 4:3 no matter how big or small we make it. Same thing if we're doing HD 16:9. It's going to keep that 16:9 aspect ratio no matter the size that we make it here. And then finally, we have the ability to select and mask. We looked at that before on how you can use masking tools with selections. The other options in here is an elliptical marquee. So this allows you to make ellipses. If you hold down the Shift key, it will lock the aspect ratio into a circle. And you can do the same thing with the Alt key. You can radiate out from where you clicked. And if you hold Shift, it'll make a circle radiate out from wherever you clicked. So I use that pretty often. The last two is a single row marquee and the single column marquee tool. You'll find sometimes you might need something like this where you just want to make a direct horizontal line or a vertical line on your design. This is great for like slicing things up. So I can just go ahead and click out here. Actually, let's turn this into a layer. And we'll click out here, and then it allows us to just make a single row or single column selection. If we click again, you'll see that it makes a new selection, so you can only have one of these at a time. And also, we can do a single column marquee. So this is the same thing, but it's this way. You'll find times where you might need that to line up things or to cut up your document in certain ways. So those are the marquee tools, also referred to as the marching ants or the selection tools. And it's basically allowing you to make selections so that you can come in, you can move them, you can manipulate them, and all the different things that you can use selections for inside of Photoshop.